Imagine a country where, time feels like it's measured differently, not by a clock, but by the echoes bouncing off these ancient stone fortresses.
Or by the whisper of wind across a desert so vast it's called the empty quarter.
Exactly. A place where deep cultural legacies are, they're literally carved into mountain faces and they flow through irrigation channels that were built 2 millennia ago.
We are, of course, talking about Oman, what's often called the soul of Arabia. It's a land of these monumental natural extremes, these vast deserts and soaring mountains that, frankly, demanded absolute ingenuity from the people who call it home.
Right. And that's really the mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore that convergence. We want to understand how Oman has not only maintained this profound cultural identity, but has also adapted to one of the planet's most dramatic and arid environments.
The study in resilience, really.
It is. So for you, our listener, our goal is to give you that quick but really thorough understanding. We want to connect the dots, give you those aha moments by traversing, the whole sweep of Omani history, from its highest peaks down to its ingenious water systems and the trade routes that literally built its wealth.
And to do that, you have to start with the land itself. You just can't understand Oman without understanding the geography. The land here really defines the legacy.
Okay, so let's start there. Section 1, the convergence of land and legacy.
Let's do it.
And we have to start with the sheer scale of the environment because it's just mind-boggling. Oman is defined by these two opposing forces, right? The mighty Hajar Mountains, but also the Rub al Khali Desert, the empty quarter.
An empty quarter is. It's such an understatement. This is the largest continuous sand desert on the planet. We're talking about roughly 250,000 square miles.
Wow. How do you even put that number in perspective?
To really grasp it, you have to realize that's about the size of the entire state of Texas. Just sand. It's this immense, desolate, but also strangely beautiful landscape of these towering dunes. Some of them reach over 800 feet high.
800 feet? That's a skyscraper made of sand.
Pretty much. And when you look at it from space, it's just this endless sea of gold and red. But what's fascinating, and this goes back to adaptation, is that even in this extreme aridity, some areas might not see rainfall for decades at a time.
Decades?
Yes, but it still supports a unique, very highly adapted ecosystem.
What kind of life can possibly survive out there?
Well, you find specific flora, like the camelthorn tree. Its roots plunge incredibly deep, just searching for any trace of water. And for fauna, you have animals like the Arabian oryx, which was actually hunted to extinction in the wild, but has been successfully reintroduced here.
So nature finds a way, even there.
It's a perfect showcase of nature's ability to find a foothold.
Oh.
But historically, this desert, it didn't just challenge human existence. It defined their movements. The Bedouin tribes were the absolute masters of this environment. They maintained these crucial, though incredibly perilous, long-distance trade routes straight across the Rub al Khali, connecting the deep interior markets with the coast.
It's so counterintuitive. You think of a desert as a barrier, but here it was actually a corridor for the economy.
A very challenging one, but yes. Now, if the Rub al Khali represents that sort of horizontal emptiness and expanse, the Hajar Mountains provide the complete opposite. They give you the verticality, the refuge.
The backbone of the country, really.
That's a great way to put it. The Hajar Range acts as this massive climatic barrier. It traps what little moisture comes in off the sea, creating the conditions necessary for habitation and, crucially, for agriculture further inland.
And they were a refuge, you said.
Historically, they were vital as a sanctuary. They offered defensible high ground for tribes who wanted to maintain their autonomy, to stay away from the coastal powers, the sultans in Muscat. This geography fundamentally shaped the political division of Oman for centuries, the coast versus the interior.
And these mountains weren't just for defense. They were critical for commerce, right?
Yeah.
Particularly with the frankincense trade.
Absolutely critical. In the 17th century, when Omani maritime power was really at its peak, the Hajar Mountains were the essential land-based routes for that trade. They linked coastal Muscat to the interior zones where the frankincense was harvested. They weren't just the backbone of the Sultanate, they were the arteries of its entire commercial empire.
So they allowed merchants to move this incredibly high-value good quickly and safely from the source to the ports.
Exactly. And right at the heart of this range, you find the highest point in all of Oman, Jebel Shams.
The Mountain of the Sun. Even the name is dramatic. It rises to, what, over 9,000 feet?
9,841 feet, to be precise. And the views are they're described as breathtaking. It drops away into this massive chasm, Wadi Gul, which people often call the Grand Canyon of the Middle East.
And I'm guessing that height wasn't just for the views. It must have had a strategic purpose.
A huge one. In the 19th century, this was a time of really complex, shifting tribal dynamics in the interior. Lots of conflict. So this peak served a crucial strategic role. It wasn't just scenery. It was a permanent lookout point.
So you could see your enemies coming from miles away.
From hours, maybe even days away. Tribes used the elevation to maintain surveillance over rival groups, to control access to the mountain passes. It was their defensible, elevated perimeter. Being able to spot an approaching threat that far in advance, I mean, that's the difference between survival and conquest.
And that history isn't just in stories. It's written in the stone, literally. I read about ancient rock carvings near Jebel Shams.
Yes, and they are remarkable. You can explore these carvings that date back over 8,000 years.
8,000? That's incredible.
It's a staggering time frame. And these carvings are tangible proof of a rich prehistoric culture that was using this landscape long before the rise of major empires. They often depict hunting scenes, tribal symbols, local animals. They give us this invaluable direct insight into the lives and beliefs of Oman's earliest inhabitants. The mountain isn't just geographically high, its historical significance is equally elevated.
And what's so amazing is how that harsh environment actually fostered this really strong sense of community. We learn about these things called mages.
Ah, yes, the mages. They're a beautiful reflection of Omani values. They're these communal gathering spaces, traditionally open air, where community members meet for crucial discussions, for social events, celebrations.
So it's like a town hall, but more informal.
Exactly. And crucially, they function as an informal mechanism for building consensus and for tribal justice. It complements the more formal government structures. This emphasis on hospitality and shared responsibility, facilitated by spaces like the mages, is still absolutely central to Omani identity today. Is where disputes often get settled before they can escalate into larger conflicts. It's about cementing social ties.
Okay, so we have this immense desert, the strategic heights of the mountains, and a deeply embedded culture of communal resilience. But we can't talk about Oman's economic history without focusing on the one commodity that really put it on the global map: frankincense.
Frankincense was the ultimate economic lifeline. It was everything: a resin, a spice, a perfume, a medicine. And it was prized since antiquity across so many civilizations: Egypt, Rome, Judea, all the way to the Far East.
And at times it was worth more than gold, right?
Literally. At certain points in history, it was considered more valuable than gold because it was seen as essential for so many religious ceremonies and high-end perfumery. This incredibly high value drove the entire development of ancient commerce in the region.
And the undisputed center of that entire global trade was Salalah, in the south of the country.
Salah was the source. This is where the specific trees, the Boswellia sacra trees, grew in abundance. And Salah wasn't just a local market, it was the nexus of these ancient trade routes that spanned thousands of miles.
It's hard to imagine the logistics of that.
Well, you had routes that connected the Mediterranean world, both by land and sea, right across the Arabian Peninsula and then down to the Indian Ocean and East Africa. The logistical complexity required to transport this fragile, high-value product basically defined Omani maritime history for more than 1,000 years.
So it facilitated this vibrant exchange of not just goods, but culture, ideas, knowledge, a real hub of interaction.
Precisely. And that historical significance is why the archaeological sites that are associated with the frankincense trade in Salah were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 2000. That recognition, it underscores the fundamental role that Omani control over this one spice played in global commerce and cultural exchange. It linked desert oases to cosmopolitan ports across 3 continents.
It's just incredible to think that this fragrant resin harvested in the dry south was the fuel that connected the strategic high points of the Hajar Mountains to the entire known world. It's a perfect illustration of how the environment and the economic legacy are just completely intertwined in Oman.
And that leads us perfectly into our next section. If the land presented this monumental challenge, the next question is, how do they solve it? How did humans manage to make life sustainable in such a dramatic, arid place?
Right. Section 2, ingenuity and adaptation. This is where we get into the engineering.
And it's a testament to minds that were, in some ways, centuries ahead of their time.
And nothing embodies that human ingenuity quite like the Falaj system. I find this to be one of the most compelling examples of sustainable engineering anywhere on Earth.
It is utterly unique. The Falaj system, also UNESCO World Heritage Site, by the way, is this network of ancient underlain channels. They're designed to tap into deep groundwater and spring sources and then distribute that water across vast distances using only gravity.
And the key genius here, which I think is often missed, is that they're underground.
Yes. Why is that so critical, especially in a place like Oman?
Well, it has to be about evaporation, right?
It is the ultimate measure in water conservation. By keeping the channels largely underground, they minimize water loss. In a place where summer temperatures can easily exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, moving water in an open-air canal is just futile. The Falaj ensures that nearly all the water that's tapped actually reaches the fields and the villages. It shows this incredibly sophisticated understanding of hydrology and resource management that is truly ancient.
And the proof is in the longevity. That's what I find so staggering. The system in Misfat al-Ebriain, which is one of the most picturesque mountain villages you'll ever see, it's been in continuous use for over 2,000 years.
2,000 years. Think about that. That means engineers in the time of the Roman Empire could have been working on those same channels.
It's mind-blowing.
And you see similar success in slightly younger systems, too. The Falaj in Muqad al-Maz village is still fully operating after 500 years. This isn't just, a historical relic they preserve for tourists. It's an active, functional, traditional approach to water conservation that still dictates community life.
And there's a whole social structure around it, isn't there? It's not just engineering.
Oh, the social contract is just as important. There are complex rules that govern water usage rights, when each family or field can draw water and for how long. And it's often measured by the movement of the sun or shadows. It's a system designed to ensure absolute communal equity.
And these sophisticated water systems, they've fed the iconic Omani architecture, these mudbrick villages that seem to just cling defiantly to the mountainsides, perfectly integrated into the landscape. Let's talk about El Hamra Old Village.
El Hamra is a stunning example of what's called adobe, or traditional mudbrick architecture. And parts of it has stood for over 300 years. The fact that these structures have lasted that long isn't an accident. It's a testament to the specific composition of the mud and straw they used and the need for continual communal maintenance cycles.
Beyond just looking beautiful, what made mud brick the ideal material for this region? What's the function?
It's all about climate control. Mud brick walls are incredibly thick, often several feet wide. This creates a huge thermal mass, which makes them exceptional insulators.
So they absorb the heat during the day.
They absorb the day's intense heat very, very slowly, and then they radiate it out slowly overnight when it's cool. This keeps the interiors remarkably cool during the blistering day, which was obviously essential for survival before modern air conditioning. And El Hamra is one of the largest intact settlements of its kind, with around 400 of these traditional houses. It gives you this invaluable glimpse into a hyper-efficient traditional way of life.
And these structures, combined with the Falaj, allowed a specific type of agriculture to thrive, creating what you could call the date culture.
Exactly. Dates are so much more than just a sweet treat in Oman. They are a historical staple food, a primary source of sustenance, and a valuable economic commodity with deep, deep cultural significance.
And villages like Al Hamra were centers for this.
A crucial center for date production. The palms require that constant water flow, which is supplied by the Falaj. And our listeners should know that the annual date harvest isn't just agriculture. It's a unique cultural tradition. It involves these elaborate family gatherings and celebrations that mark the abundance and sharing of this essential crop. The date palm is inseparable from the Omani identity.
You can really see that integration when you visit places like Muqad al-Maz. The houses are nestled against the slopes to maximize every available square foot for cultivation in these terraced gardens, all fed by that 500-year-old water system.
Now, if we follow those carefully engineered terrace gardens upward, we arrive at another monumental peak, Jebel Akar.
Jebel Akdar, which means the Green Mountain. It's the highest part of the Al-Hajar range, rising to around 9,800 feet. And this is where the environment gives the local people a unique advantage, what the outline calls the microclimate insight.
Absolutely. The elevation is the key. It creates an environment that's distinctly cooler, it receives more moisture, and so it's significantly more fertile than the scorching desert just a few thousand feet below. This specific condition allows for a specialized, high-value agricultural tradition to flourish that just couldn't exist anywhere else in the region.
And this peak is famous for two specific crops grown in these ancient terrace fields.
Yeah?
Some of them are also over 2,000 years old, pomegranates, and even more famously, roses.
The pomegranates are prized for their quality, no question. But the roses lead to a truly unique Omani heritage. The practice of rosewater distillation.
How does that work?
The specific damask roses grown here are harvested in the spring, and their essence is distilled in these traditional copper stills, usually over a wood fire. Jebel Akhtar produces some of the finest rosewater in the world. It's an essential ingredient in Omani cuisine, in their sweets and in traditional perfumes. And this, of course, attracts curious travelers and connoisseurs who are seeking authenticity and high quality.
So you have this perfect synergy. The Falaj delivering the water, the unique elevation creating the climate, and human ingenuity producing this luxury product. And this flow continues right into their culinary tradition.
Precisely. You see it in the local families' customs, like hosting these large iftar feasts during Ramadan. They celebrate the breaking of the fast with dishes that heavily feature the local herbs, spices, and of course the pomegranates and rosewater grown in these fertile, high-altitude gardens. It's a complete cultural ecosystem. It shows that they didn't just adapt to the arid environment. They leveraged its hidden features to create both sustenance and cultural wealth.
Okay, so from water and farming, let's shift focus to the centers of power. Section 3. Fortresses, conflict, and modern identity. This is where military strength, conflict, and commerce really intersect. And we have to start with the two historical anchors of the interior, Bahla and Nizwa.
These two locations, they truly anchor the complex history of Oman's interior, which was known historically as the Imamate. Bahla Fort, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a testament to early military and political power. It was built primarily in the 13th century, and it served as the seat of the powerful Banu Nabhan dynasty.
And its location was key, right? It controlled the trade route.
Its strategic location meant it controlled the crucial regional trade routes that fed goods from the coast deep into the interior. And control of those routes meant immense wealth.
Which is reflected in the sheer scale of the fortification. Bahla Fort covers something like 43 acres. I mean, to put that into perspective, it's one of the largest adobe structures on the entire Arabian Peninsula.
That scale presents incredible challenges, both architectural and logistical. Unlike stone, adobe requires continuous, sophisticated maintenance to withstand things like flash floods and just general decay. The fort's impressive design, which is this blend of local Omani techniques and broader Islamic architectural styles, it demonstrates the dynasty's ability to mobilize huge resources and expertise to maintain its seat of power. The fort is a physical manifestation of the interior's long-standing desire for autonomy.
So if Bahla was the historical seat of a powerful dynasty, Nizwa represented something different, more like the enduring cultural and commercial heart of the region.
That's a great way to think about it. The Nizwa souk is famous for being over 300 years old. It was originally established as the central marketplace for interior traders and the nomadic Bedouins.
And that tradition is still alive today.
Oh, it's vibrant and continuous. Today, the souk is still a hub for specific high-value crafts. It's renowned for its exquisite silver jewelry, especially the curved khanjar dagger and its pottery. But the real highlight, which draws people from all over the interior, is the Friday livestock market. This is a centuries-old tradition where locals gather to trade camels, goats, and cattle.
And that market, it's not just about commerce, is it? It feels like something more.
It's a profoundly social and communal event. It reinforces that agricultural heritage and the community connections we talked about earlier. And here's where the story gets tense. While Nizwa is famous for this deep commercial tradition, it was also the flashpoint for a very serious conflict in the mid-20th century.
The Jebel Akhtar War.
Yes, the Jebel Akhtar War, centered around Nizwa in 1957. This was not a minor skirmish. It was a major conflict rooted in the tension between the coastal Sultanate of Muscat and the powerful conservative Imamate of Oman in the interior.
And oil was at the heart of it, wasn't it?
The discovery of oil in the interior massively heightened these tensions. Both factions, of course, sought control over the future wealth of the nation.
So what was the outcome? What were the long-term consequences of that war?
The conflict involved external powers, notably British forces, who intervened to support the Sultanate. The resulting victory for the Sultanate effectively ended that historical division between the coast and the interior and its centralized power under the Sultan in Muscat. This conflict underscores the immense historical significance of Nizwa in Omani governance and its pivotal role in shaping the modern, unified Omani state that was to follow. It was a violent but arguably necessary prelude to the modernization era.
That duality is fascinating, the ancient marketplace and the modern flashpoint, and it leads us directly into that transition to a modern identity, which is just perfectly symbolized by the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque.
Completed in 2001, the mosque is so much more than a place of worship. It's a monumental physical declaration of Omani unity and modern Islamic identity, all initiated by Sultan Qaboos bin Said after he unified the nation.
The scale and the artistry are just designed to inspire awe. The main dome soars to 164 feet, and it's adorned with over 6,000 intricately designed pieces of crystal. It shimmers against the desert sky. It's a real statement of architectural mastery, achieved with modern resources and techniques.
And the interior is a celebration of both Omani and global craftsmanship. We have to talk about the Persian carpet. This piece required astonishing logistical coordination and artistry.
How big is it?
It covers over 64,000 square feet. At the time it was finished, it was the largest single-piece hand-woven carpet in the world. It was handcrafted by hundreds of skilled Iranian and Omani artisans. It symbolizes Oman's deep tradition of detailed craftsmanship, but now scaled up to this monumental modern size.
But maybe the most profound symbolism of the mosque is its openness.
Absolutely. The mosque is a deliberate symbol of cultural exchange. It actively welcomes non-Muslim visitors to certain areas. And this openness, alongside the weekly sermon, which blends traditional spiritual guidance with relevant discussions on contemporary social issues, it positions the mosque as a modern institution that's promoting understanding and dialogue in the 21st century. It's a very deliberate policy of soft power.
And to understand how they navigated that journey, from 13th century adobe forts and tribal conflicts to this unifying 21st century monument, we really need the full historical context, which brings us to the National Museum of Oman.
Inaugurated in 2016, the museum is the definitive chronicle. It showcases over 5,000 years of Omani history, all in one place. It successfully bridges those ancient civilizations with the modern national narrative.
I love that the architectural connection to the past is maintained, even in this ultra-modern building. The design subtly draws inspiration from traditional Omani forts, linking the present back to that long history we just discussed in Bahla.
It does. And the scope is immense. It spans 4.5 acres and houses 14 permanent galleries. These galleries delve deep into themes like maritime history, exploring the reach of the Omani Empire across the Indian Ocean trade, and Islamic art.
Is there one artifact that really stands out?
A key artifact that illustrates Oman's geopolitical importance is a 15th century Portuguese map. It clearly shows Oman's strategic control over the Strait of Hormuz and its crucial role in global maritime trade during the Age of Exploration.
And linking back to the communal culture we saw starting in the mountains, the museum also highlights the ancient art of khalwat.
Yes, the khalwat. These were ceremonial gatherings. So unlike the informal consensus-driven mages, khalwats were generally more formal gatherings for both men and women, often centered around specific celebrations or community decisions. Highlighting this tradition in the museum reflects the rich, subtle, social, and communal aspects of Omani history that are just as important as the stories of sultans and forts. The museum really curates the entire national narrative, from the earliest rock carvings to the global maritime significance of the 15th century and the cultural unity of today.
Okay, we've established this story of dramatic contrast, desert against mountain, ancient ingenuity against modern architecture. But to truly appreciate the resilience of the people, we have to explore its hidden oases. These are the places that just utterly defy the arid landscape.
They are often unexpected and profoundly dramatic. Let's start with Wadi Shab, a famous emerald canyon that's nestled among these rugged cliffs.
The scenery there is astonishing. You have these breathtaking cliffs that soar up to 600 feet, creating this dramatic, imposing backdrop. But down below, you find this lush greenery thriving because of a complex network of natural springs and freshwater pools.
And the journey itself is part of the experience. It often requires a hike and then a swim through those pools to reach the final destination.
But Wadi Shab wasn't just a pretty location, it was functionally vital historically.
That's right. In the 18th century, it was an essential stop for caravans traveling between the major port of Muscat and interior cities like Nizwa. A reliable, well-watered rest stop like this was crucial for refreshing both the merchants and their animals. It facilitated trade and cultural exchange by linking these distant communities.
And the local culture there is still deeply connected to the wadi. We learn about this traditional fishing technique called catching with a net.
Yes, this technique, which often involves a cast net or specific handmade traps, it remains an essential part of the community's sustenance and heritage. It just reinforces this theme that the local people utilize every available resource in a sustainable, time-honored way. Add to that the attraction of hidden caves, which are often only accessible by swimming, and the picturesque waterfalls, and you can see why this environment is so enchanting.
Then you have this geological spectacle that sounds almost mythical, the Bima sinkhole.
It is a phenomenal natural wonder, located a short distance from the coast. We're talking about a hole in the ground that's roughly 394 feet across and plunges about 82 feet deep. It's an enormous bowl carved into the earth.
And there's this fantastic folklore surrounding it. Local communities called it a gateway to heaven.
The folklore suggests it was formed when a meteor fell to Earth, which really speaks to its immense visual impact and size. This rich folklore, it captivates the imagination and it gives the geological site this spiritual layer of meaning that enhances the whole experience of visiting.
And, like Wadi Shab, it had commercial significance beyond its beauty.
Absolutely. Located close to the major roads, it served as an essential stop for traders on the incense route.
Yeah.
You have to imagine you're crossing this scorching terrain and you suddenly encounter this massive, deep pool of refreshing water. It was an absolutely critical, reliable, freshwater source, which further links this natural wonder to ancient commerce.
It also has a unique ecology, doesn't it?
It does. Because it's so close to the coast, the sinkhole features this blend of freshwater coming up from below and saltwater influence. This unique layering creates a distinct biodiversity, which attracts nature enthusiasts who are interested in the local fish species and migratory birds that use this unusual contained ecosystem. It's truly a haven in the desert.
Finally, we have to return to Salah to talk about a natural phenomenon that completely flips the script on what you'd expect from the Arabian Peninsula, the Kharif season.
The Kharif season, which runs from about June through September, is the cultural and natural centerpiece of the Dhofar region. It's the annual monsoon period, caused by the fringe effects of the Indian Ocean monsoon system.
And these rains create an incredible transformation.
They transform the landscape entirely. Within weeks, the brown, arid slopes are cloaked in this lush, dense green paradise. The mist, the cooler temperatures, the constant drizzle. It draws visitors from all across the Gulf region who are eager to experience this unique, temperate climate in the middle of a blazing hot summer.
And this seasonal transformation is part of why Salah became such a cultural melting pot historically.
That climatic advantage, combined with its location on the maritime trade routes, created a unique environment where Arab, African, and Indian influences naturally blended over centuries. This rich tapestry is evident in everything from its architecture to its distinct coconut-centric cuisine and colorful handicrafts.
That commercial and cultural importance was fully recognized in the 20th century. Sultan Qaboos bin Said's modernization program, which he started in 1970, transformed Salah from a relatively modest fishing village into a bustling cultural and administrative hub.
The modernization was swift and thorough, and it was fueled by oil revenues. It involved significant investment in infrastructure education, healthcare, road networks, all designed to integrate the historically separate Dhofar region more closely with the unified Omani state. Today, the area features spectacular parks and modern developments, like Wadi Darbat, which has over 1,200 acres of lush greenery and seasonal waterfalls.
And even the venues for modern diplomacy and hospitality reflect this blend of luxury and natural beauty. Take the Al Bustan Palace Hotel.
Built in 1985, the Al Bustan Palace was monumental in its time. It initially served as the site for the Gulf Cooperation Council Summit, which signified Oman's growing regional influence and its emergence onto the global diplomatic stage. The hotel itself, spanning 88 acres of lush gardens and designed in a traditional Omani architectural style, was this deliberate expression of national confidence and Omani hospitality.
And even in that modern, luxurious context, the deep cultural traditions remain.
Absolutely. The enduring cultural tradition of serving Arabic coffee and dates upon arrival is meticulously maintained, even in the most luxurious settings. It symbolizes Omani warmth and generosity, and the cultural significance of these staples ties the modern experience right back to that ancient date culture and the communal life we've seen across the entire country.
So we've traveled from the largest sand desert in the world to peaks that are nearly 10,000 feet high, through 2,000-year-old sustainable water systems, and we've ended in a coastal city that turns green every summer. What's the ultimate synthesis for you? What's the big takeaway?
After looking at the whole landscape, what stands out is the profound nature of Omani resilience. The country is really defined by two forces: its monumental natural beauty, the sheer scale of the Rub al Khali, the strategic heights of Jebel Shams, and the proportional genius of the human response.
The genius is visible everywhere.
Everywhere. It's in the 2,000-year-old Falaj system that makes life possible. It's in the enduring 300-year-old mudbrick villages like Al-Hamra that offer thermal relief. And it's in the deep cultural values like hospitality and communal life, which we saw fostered in the mages and are still maintained in the modern coffee rituals. At the end of the day, Oman is a testament to making an impossible environment livable through collective effort and ingenuity.
That is a powerful conclusion about resilience, and it leads us to our final thought for you, the listener, to consider. We know Omani identity is rooted in, and still actively relies on, the ancient. Ancient building methods, ancient water technology, traditional social gatherings.
But we also just discussed the defining national trauma of the Jebel Akhdar War in 1957, and then the incredibly rapid top-down political and cultural modernization programs that were initiated by Sultan Qaboos just over a decade later, in 1970.
So here's the question we're left with. How does a country that clings so tightly to and actively uses 300-year-old mud brick architecture and 2,000-year-old water channels, maintaining them not as museum relics but as functioning, vital infrastructure, how does that country manage to simultaneously navigate a major mid-20th century conflict and then launch one of the most successful modernization campaigns we've seen?
What is this ultimate convergence, where the ancient is not discarded, but is maintained as an active, functional part of modern national life? What does that teach us about the true, sustainable definition of progress?
That's something worth thinking about as you reflect on this incredible deep dive. Thank you for joining us.